lovely beings.
Greetings.
Forever awesome, out of the house again.
Forever awesome in the house, but out of the house today.
Yay. Welcome, welcome. We're walking again.
And how's everybody out there doing today? And we're going to get into a video about...
communication in relationships.
Yeah, this is most important.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
Yeah, because you keep on learning. You keep on learning the other person's communications, how they communicate, and also yourself. And it's always very interesting. Like you have deeper layers, because when you clash, it's because there's something, you have a different way, or you have different boundaries, or different things that you think is important. But it's also always good to talk about it and to overcome that. And then there's always more understanding for yourself and the other person.
I want to throw something in here real quick at the beginning of the communication. Communication can be, it can go a couple of different ways. You have, well, I'll just say it like this. Between partners, sometimes communication can be a bit confusing. In our case, we have two different versions of English. I come from the United States, and she's from Holland. So when I say certain things in English, they actually, like, the words actually mean something different sometimes. Or something, how can I explain?
It's
You're very direct with your words that you use.
I have a different way of saying things, and anyway.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think your English is basically, the word is for what it is. Like, we can say one word and it can mean like 5 different things. You don't really have that so much.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you have the word for its complete meaning, its basic meanings. And for us, that I think their language barrier, even though it's English, is quite challenging.
Yeah, and it's not my first language. And even though I'm like used to talking English for a really long time, I still, every time when we have a miscommunication, it's always, when we have like a clash, it's always a miscommunication.
Always miscommunication.
It's always miscommunication. But also know, like, sometimes it comes out differently than you maybe want, but mostly it's also the other person hears it differently than how you want to say it.
And that's very common, I think, in all relationships.
Yeah.
Like somebody hears something wrong, or somebody says something a different way, and you might take it a different way.
Yeah.
And then I can start some triggering right there.
Yeah, that's why it's also always good to ask, like, hey, what did you mean by this? Or why did you say it like this? Or like also be responsible for your own triggers, and also say that, like, hey, this I felt like this for me.
Yeah, explain how you feel. If somebody, always discuss how you felt and how you thought it was said to you, and how you think somebody's saying it to you. Never hold it in, because that can develop into some other fire, some other triggering, to make things even worse and blown out of proportion. So always discuss your feelings in a proper manner, though. Don't go out of control.
Always also know when you're saying things, and maybe later you feel differently about it, tell that to the other. It's about you being open and sharing about everything, and transparency.
Explaining how you feel. And
also, when you learn, you can only do better when you know better. And sometimes you have like certain habits, and you don't even know that you have that. Sometimes it has to come out to see, like, oh, I have this always. Like, I have this pattern of communication.
Like something that you've been doing in past relationships.
Yeah, yeah.
Pattern that you might want to break, so you don't repeat the same thing, and you can move on to something new after your growth and your experiences.
Yeah, I was even talking to someone today, like saying, like, yeah, I sometimes have, I hope that he will say this or that he does this. I was like, no. Then it's like, and then the person was like sad about their own expectation of the other person in the relationship. But I'm like, they don't, like, they're not psychic. And you have to say it yourself. But that is a pattern that I had in a previous relationship, that I'm like, oh, why doesn't he do this on itself? And why doesn't he ask this? No, you always have to be more clearer in what you want, and have to say it, because there's no one else saying it. No. If you don't.
And here's the thing, I like that idea that you said it was a pattern, an expectation, because a lot of times how we're taught how to be in relationships, which is always not the proper way, whether we're watching TV or watching a movie, or we're watching some kind of like some kind of program that's telling us how we need to be. These patterns form like expectations that we should have towards our partner. It could be left off from your parents, how they behaved, but we always, like, it gives you like a sense of like how you think you need to behave, and how you think the other person needs to behave, rather than you two just like developing and just doing it the way you think you should be doing it, or at least practicing this. Everybody wants to be somebody else and be something else, and be taught and told how to do something else, and that's what I believe makes things kind of break apart and not work properly.
And the more you are the more you are yourself and don't lie to yourself and others, the more the communication is just open and there's nothing not there. And that is also really important. Just be honest, be open, share what's happening in your mind, share what thoughts you're having, and then the other person also understands you better.
Yeah, I'd say put up those healthy boundaries. Don't be afraid to speak your mind. A lot of people won't speak their mind because they think it might cause a breakup. But what you want to do is speak your mind right away, because if it does cause a breakup, it wasn't meant to be, and you shouldn't be. And then at least you're being real about yourself, being authentically real, and you should split apart. If you don't split apart and it stays together, that means because the relationship is going the way it should go for that moment. And being yourself is what you always want to do. Never hide yourself. Never change because you think it might hurt something, a relationship, or you think it might hurt the other person. As long as your intentions are good, you're not trying to hurt anybody else, and you're being real, you'll get the real person.
And you also learn from each other when you're open and for growth and learning from each other and being open about things. That is also really important, and that is one of the biggest things. But always you grow and you go like find deeper layers, and you find like more freedom and more love.
True.
And sometimes you are feeling less connected, but a lot of times it is because you feel less connected with yourself. And then it's also good to find that connection back with yourself, and then come back to each other. So sometimes you need some time alone if you're triggered, you have some emotions and you're triggered. Sometimes you need to figure out what's happening.
Take your time, breathe a little bit. Get you some air, a couple hours or whatever you got to do, and get your mind cleared up, and then you come back and you communicate again. And it's funny because like sometimes you have to know yourself, and that's what you have to learn. Also, trying to learn yourself, there's going to be lots of miscommunication with you and the other person at the same time. So you really have to get just your mind clear, a couple hours, and come back, clear it up, and then try to you work things out.
When the emotions are settled, and then you find out like also what you first would want to react, if you don't react in the first place immediately when you're triggered, but when you come back to yourself.
Don't react off your emotions.
Because then you will say things that you
don't mean.
Because then you're gonna project your anger or frustration or whatever's happening. You project that on the other person, but only when you're more still, you will find what is beneath that emotion. Why is that emotion there in the first place? And why were you so rolled up about it and have those emotions? And a lot of times there's a deeper pattern or something behind that.
Yeah, but at the same time, still, I mean, you're going to say something you don't mean.
Sometimes it happens, yeah.
No, I mean, it happens a lot. So you said no, but actually yes, because why do you think the trouble happens in the first place? Because something is said that you didn't want to be said, that wasn't meant to be said. Maybe it was meant to be said, but maybe you didn't mean to say it. And so it triggers certain things, it causes certain things, and it sparks an event. And this event, what happens after you say things you don't mean, it can either work itself out, or it'll make or break, or it could break the relationship.
And that's why you also need to be holding space for each other. So when one partner is triggered and they says things that they don't mean, because of their hurt, a lot of times it's hurt, it's like sadness, but it comes out as like anger, frustration, but it's like lashing out. Like everybody has their own defense mechanisms. Sometimes it's lashing out, like sometimes it's like crawling like in a shell. Sometimes it's like distancing themselves. But they all have different self-defense mechanisms, and in that moment, hold space for each other.
So why do we have these mechanisms? What happens?
Because it's from our youth.
Youth, trauma, things you go through, past relationships, expectations, anticipations.
Very well. Yeah, because like we are all been hurt in the past, and that's why we also need to be compassionate with each other. Like sometimes people can say things when they're like triggered, and then you come back to each other when the emotions are gone again.
Yes.
Yeah, and also when someone says after that trigger, they say things that they don't really mean, and then it can come out like not so nice. But also then see that for what it is.
Yes, and exactly. It comes out not so
Yeah.
nice.
And that is also because of like in your childhood, you had to defend yourself, or you had to go in yourself, like or to distance yourself, to regain your connection to yourself. This reality, it's not easy. It's not easy to always be in like things happen, and it's also there that we learn from it, and then also that we see those patterns.
Yes. So always protect yourself. Yes, you have to compromise and be kind of vulnerable in a relationship, but not too vulnerable. Just together you'll have the know-how to do what you think is balanced in that way. Always have your healthy boundaries, and never be afraid to speak your mind, because then things flow better that way. If you don't speak your mind, you might be harvesting something, and it might boil up later. So when you get into a confrontation or something, miscommunication happens, that thing in the back of your mind will come out because you never discussed it. And a lot of times these could be explosive, and these could ruin relationships as well. So always speak your mind from the beginning. Always be real from the beginning. Never be fake. Real attracts real.
And that's why you need to be very aware, so it doesn't build up. So be very aware of like certain emotions.
Yes.
When someone says something, really be aware of that, so you can be already from the beginning say something about it.
Because if you don't like it, let somebody know you don't like it, and let them know how it made you feel. If you don't speak how you feel, nobody's a psychic. Nobody can really guess.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can guess the energy of the person by the way they're acting, and you can feel the energy. Sometimes depends on how good you are at discovering who you are and knowing yourself to be able to do this. But if you can't, communicate, speak. Ask questions. You might not get the answer right away. Sometimes you ask questions, and you might get a general answer because your other half might not even give you what you're asking for as far as like the answer. They might say one thing and do another thing, but you'll all figure that out on your own. This is part of growth and development and learning each other and learning yourself. Just do the best you can if you really want this thing to happen. If not, universe will let it be what it is.
Yeah, and you keep learning, and no one is perfect. So also have compassion for yourself during whatever you're going through, because like no one has a roadmap for this. We're all figuring it ourselves out.
Constantly learning.
And we are learning, but we're like, we also want to let other people know, because we know people are clashing, and then they think it's the other person, but they don't see that they have also themselves some wounds, and also everybody has different wounds because of their upbringing. It can be a tiny thing what someone says, and it can be like suddenly a volcano, but it is because it was already there, like little bursts, but because the person didn't acknowledge it in the first place.
Or didn't do the work to work on it.
Yeah.
Like if you don't do the work and carry it on to the next, it just remains there. It just lingers. It could even build up, and it could become catastrophic if not dealt with properly.
But always make sure that you have someone where you can work with together, and that you can grow together and evolve together, and that you can talk about it. And sometimes maybe you think you can't, but no, sometimes you can. Like really break it open. Then like if things are not working well, make sure that you did everything before making other choices. Because if the pattern is within yourself, you will find it again in another relationship if you don't heal it.
Yeah, what I like about how we did our relationship is like, after being single for a while, then we started our thing up. I realized that I had a lot of patterns from the past, and a lot of thoughts that would be in my head of like what I think was going on in the relationship, and I had to like learn how to break that, fix it, and do the work, so I don't like carry something that's not really happening that I think is happening. You create a lot of scenarios and situations in your own mind. Even when you're looking at somebody for a couple of seconds, you're like, oh, what if this is happening? What if that's going on? And you just have to break these patterns, those fear patterns, fear of something happening. Get out of fear. Rise up in your confidence. And know who you are. If you're real, like I became, that no longer matters. That no longer bothers you. And just like you just roll with it. And then universe will show you that door that it needs you to see. Whether it's like left or right. You know, whatever choice you're making is going to be the right. You're going to try to make the right choice. And if you're in a relationship that's really really care about so much, you're gonna try to make that even better.
Yeah.
There's more there, but it slipped away.
It's so good. But that's why we had like different relationships, so that we learned a lot from it as well.
Past relationships.
And yeah, like, but then also your communication gets better, and and then you see like where you still need to tweak it, certain things that can even get better, and we keep learning, and you also don't want to bring the same patterns into a next relationship.
Hey.
You also want
how's it going?
not to bring the next.
Pretty good.
You also don't want to bring the next things in the next relationship. So that's why you keep on learning and keep on growing. And that's why we also want to let people know, like, because not everybody is aware of these patterns, to become aware of it and learn from it and see it as a growth moment, and know that if you're like triggered in a moment, can be very, very uncomfortable, but later you learn from it.
Yes, you do. You learn from it. And the thing is, like, sometimes, I like to call it, like you do sometimes, growing pains.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the learning process is painful. The process when things happen is very painful. And sometimes it's not easy. And it's not meant to be. But, like, if you find a way to come out of that and become stronger, do what's right. Do what you think is right. You know what I mean? As long as you're not trying to hurt nobody and you're trying to do what's right, things should work out. And things will work out, actually.
I know also the other person has a good intention, wants you to be free, wants you to be yourself. And the only way is total transparency and total openness to what is going on in your head, and learn and say that, like total honesty and transparency.
Well, I want to say, like, relationship-wise, for us at least, it's that way because it is a good relationship. You can't have some that are toxic, and you'll know soon enough. You'll know in the pit of your stomach, and you'll know that, like, you might carry it on for a while. You know when that has to end. But you'll know when it's a good relationship, and then you'll see that, yes, when it's in a good one, you do have these good intentions for each other. And you want everything for the best. You want to do the best, be the best, and you want to learn and grow together. It becomes something magnificent.
Ooh!
They were all striving to.
Ooh!
We're going to find out what that is, but we're headed there right now. Magnificent. We're headed that way.
We're heading, woohoo! We're heading there.
Yeah.
Oh.
So just keep doing your best. Everybody stay strong out there.
Yes, and wishing you all the best.
Stay positive.
Yes. And you keep learning and keep growing and keep evolving and keep being a more true version of yourself, a more honest and more free version of yourself.
Very nice, very nice. That was really good.
Yay, lots of love from us.
Love, light, peace, power, and happiness to everybody out there. And we'll see you in the next one. Very awesome.